Find insight, guidance, and answers. Tune into Spirit with radio medium Laura Lee.
Laura Lee, tuning into Spirit with my special guest expert. I didn't say caller, I said expert today because I got Tadd McDivitt on the call with me today. Hi, Tadd.
Hey there.
I find it interesting. You have a background in classical languages and anthropology. And for the following 25 years, you studied and researched the occult, which I find that fascinating. And at one point, you were the chief occult researcher for Asheville Museum on Mystery. And then now you continued to work as a researcher for Haunted Ashville. Fascinating.
That is correct.
All right. I brought you on the show because I would like to inform my audience a little bit more about ghosts and demystifying the idea for our listening audience, especially since the holidays quickly approaching us, called All Hallows Eve, better known as Halloween. As a researcher, could you share with our audience the interpretation you have about ghosts?
Yeah. The roots of this come from ancient Greek metaphysics, but they believe that every now and then, and this isn't with everybody, but when someone passes away, yet they do so with so much regret, it causes, for lack of a better term, for them to choose to not move back into the cycle, not move on to whatever comes next. And personally, that kind of explains why not every dead person is a ghost.
Right.
It kind of explains the idea that it's actually a very infrequent anomaly. And what you end up with is a spirit that is wrestling with unresolved things and regret. Mm-hmm. And kind of one of the ideas to treat it is to first identify what the regrets and things are, mm-hmm. then kind of help move it along, help get those things resolved. And it's kind of one of those funny things because, movies and televisions tend to overblow, either super friendly ghosts or
for real
scary ghosts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually like the ghost stories that are a little bit more sad because I think they're more accurate.
Oh, I agree with you. And if you've listened to this show, we're usually working with the spirits that do have a message for the loved one, but it's usually the loved one too in the physical realm that is so attached and haven't let go. And that is where the conflict can happen. But do you find there's a difference between them and a poltergeist, let's say?
In the original lore, a poltergeist is actually a spirit manufactured by a person's consciousness, not actually passed on human. Mm-hmm. Nor is it a proper divine or other religious spirit.
Right.
It is a construct of the mind of the living.
Interesting.
A lot of times it can just be wrestling with trauma. Something as simple as puberty could trigger a poltergeist. Well, and that's not a malady. That's just an exaggerated train and a little bit of an emotional instability during windows of time. That's why kind of when you study poltergeists, they are more often than not attached to a pubescent age child. And then the phenomena will often wear off later in life.
Yes, if anybody's energy is real low, I find that they have challenges, maybe even with addiction problems, that they can bring in these energies with them. I think you're kind of saying the same thing. Yeah. I'd love to hear what might have been the spookiest encounter you've had with one of these beings.
This is a very sentimental story, and a good friend of mine, his grandfather had passed away.
Uh-huh.
And he was kind of depressed about it, and being a good friend, I was just like, hey, let's go walk and talk. Well, here in Asheville, North Carolina, we're very close to the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is like miles and miles of national forest. And we were hiking in an area called Graveyard Fields, which is kind of close to Pisgah out in western North Carolina. And we're walking along a river, and he's telling me a story about how his grandfather used to take Boy Scout camp things. He was very active in the Boy Scouts, and they used to do all kinds of camping events around the area. While he is telling me this story, from the water, as we're walking by, I see a flicker. You know how when there's something shiny in water, the sunrise, it'll draw, well, that draws my attention. I reach my hand into the water, and I pull out the Swiss Army knife. And when I unroll the Swiss Army knife, there his grandfather's name is engraved on it.
Oh, my.
It's just that what happened was so inconceivably improbable. It very much seemed that his grandfather had a hand in the event.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. I wish we had more time. This has been a fascinating discussion. Tadd, how do people reach you if they'd like more information?
Just send an email to Haunted Ashville. We're on TripAdvisor. We also have a website.
It was a pleasure, Tadd. Thank you for coming on to the show. And if you haven't already, sign up at RadioMediumLauraLee.com to subscribe and share the show. It is free.